Hello, Internet. So, why is Skyrim such a special game for me? See, back during my first stream of the game, I promised that I would tell a story about why it's special to me, what it means to me, why it's so important that this is like the full circle thing for this channel, and also, what does it have to do with the secret origin of the Empirical Sword? Well, strap in, because this is probably going to be a pretty long story. So, we gotta go way back in time, about 15, 20 years, give or take. So for those of you who don't know, I have a master's degree in biology. I got that some time ago. This is where our story begins, more or less. So as soon as I got my degree, I tried searching for jobs in the local area, and, that does not go well. There are reasons for that, but that's another story entirely. But I spent about 6 months in unemployment and had to settle for a job washing dishes. And I kept telling myself, it's temporary. It's only temporary, because I'm going to keep searching for the job that I want. A job doing research, or working in a hospital, or something science-y related to biology. You know, something like that. And, well, that didn't happen. And the more time that passed, the more depressed I got. Depression is weird. You don't always know when it's sneaking up on you until someday you realize, oh, wow, I think I'm depressed. Yeah, that was happening. Also a good bit of anger and frustration and self-loathing. Although the self-loathing was probably related to the depression, or maybe the depression was related to the self-loathing. They go hand in hand sometimes. And here's the thing, that job was not all bad. That's where I met my best friend, Wilson. That's where we met. That's another story for another time. But yeah, I kept trying to get into a job that I felt that I actually wanted. I went to career counselors, basically had to relearn how to write resumes and cover letters because, that stuff changes. And I'll tell you just how depressed that I was, and I realize it now, looking back on it. This may actually be shocking for some people, and some people are like, why are you even admitting to this? Well, I think it's necessary for other people to know this, because a lot of people, I think, are in the exact same situation that I was in at that time. I was looking at my financial situation and looking at how much money was needing to go toward my mom's medical bills, and how much money that I was needing to pay for car insurance and food, things that I needed to pay for. Like my student loan. I was thinking, and I have admitted this on at least one other video, that yes, I was thinking of ways to end my life. I was that depressed. The bottom line is that during this period of my life, I was very depressed and not very happy with myself. I felt like a failure, and I felt useless. Slowly moving right along into the point of the story, we gotta go to a place that seems left of field, but actually isn't. As you start getting older, you realize you gotta start taking care of yourself, and that means exercise. And because I had plenty of free time, I decided to start getting back into martial arts, and I started doing research online about that, and watching videos, and discovered that there are actually tutorials about this on YouTube. At that time, I thought that YouTube was nothing more than cat videos and Jackass reenactments. Not exactly my kind of thing, so I didn't do YouTube until I realized you could actually learn stuff from YouTube. We begin to start seeing the point, glimmering very faintly on the horizon. I may edit this out because I don't need to talk about this. Anyway, so I started learning more about martial arts, and also about swords, and ancient weaponry. And I also discovered that there's, science content on YouTube. And I started getting this like little glimmer of a brainstorm. I noticed that when people would talk about, swords and medieval weaponry, they would do a lot of talking about things, but not a lot of actual testing of things. For example, using a sword to parry another sword edge on edge, or flat on flat, or flat on edge, or edge on flat. Which is better? Which breaks the sword? What does more damage to the sword? There's a lot of talking, a lot of speculation, but nobody actually designing an experiment and executing the experiment, collecting data and analyzing the data. And by the way, science background, I know how to design experiments and gather data, analyze the data, draw conclusions from the data. I'm a scientist. So I started thinking, hey, that's something I could do. And I could very easily, in my mind, design an experiment to test whether edge on edge, or flat on flat, or edge on flat is more damaging to the sword. And while doing all of this, I started realizing that there are people on YouTube that cover video game content. And I just kind of got curious. That's one of the things about me. I get curious sometimes. Video games, I've been playing video games since I was like 5 years old. And there's a lot of video games from my past that I never got to finish because I never had the patience or never had the time, both. And I kind of got curious. Are there videos of people completing these old games that I never got to finish on YouTube? And yes, there are. And I started watching some of them. And here's the thing: when even back then, the algorithm was the algorithm. Not exactly as sophisticated as it is today, but it was still the algorithm. As I was watching video game content, YouTube started recommending other video game content, including a channel called Jesse Cox. One of the videos, see back then, I don't know if YouTube still does this, but instead of just recommending individual videos, YouTube would sometimes recommend, you might like this entire channel, and here's some videos from that one channel you might like. This is going to sound ridiculous and terrible at the same time. One of the videos under the Jesse Cox recommendation featured a the title was Playing with Liquid Nitrogen, and the thumbnail featured a fairly cute-looking chick holding up a bra frozen with liquid nitrogen, and the other thumbnails were video game stuff. And I thought, oh, hey, girl gamer. And me being a dude, instead of clicking on one of the videos, I went directly to the channel. Because again, I want to go down the rabbit hole instead of just, hey, let's skim the surface of what YouTube is showing me. And, well, you know how you go to a channel and there's the autoplay thing, and, you get the video that's on autoplay. It's called autoplay. Yeah, Jesse Cox is not a chick. A dude. A fairly husky-sounding dude. With a beard. Yeah, he sounded like he had a beard. He also sounded like he was ginger. Redheads, they kind of have a little bit of a distinctive sound to their voice. I'm making that up, but it sounds like it's true, doesn't it? Well, obviously this is a little awkward. It's like one of those moments in real life when if you're a dude, you understand. If you're not a dude, you probably don't understand. But just go with me here. It's like one of those moments in real life when you see from behind a fairly attractive-looking lady that you want to talk to, so you go up to her and, hey, it's a dude. And now you're like, okay, I'm just gonna keep on walking by because I was totally not checking out your butt. Only this happened over the internet and it was very one-sided, but, I'm just gonna keep on walking now. So I decided, what if I started a YouTube channel about scientifically testing all the different myths about using swords, or just myths from movies and television and video games, or tabletop role-playing games. And before I knew it, I had this whole list of experiments I wanted to conduct. So this is where I got the name Empirical Sword. Empirical, pertaining to the scientific method, as in scientifically analyzing whether or not certain myths are true. And sword. Empirical Sword. And I rushed to YouTube, made a YouTube channel, gave it that name so I could lock it in, because who knows, somebody else might want that name. And then the practical side of me kind of finally kicked in, and I started looking at, you know what, I'm going to have to buy stuff to actually conduct these experiments. You know, how much does a decent sword cost? And by the way, I'm probably going to break it for this experiment. Oh, and I need two because, you know, that's what... And I'm using this one specific example to kind of drive home just how expensive one experiment would be. At the time, a decent sword would be about 50 bucks, if not 80. And it'll have to be sharpened, and a lot of them don't come shipped sharpened, so you'd have to pay someone to sharpen it. So, yeah. I could shell out over 100 bucks, maybe more, to get the supplies for one experiment. Or I could spend the 100 bucks on video games and have a lot more fun. So yeah, running a lot of these experiments would be fairly costly. And it was not just about swords, it was also about other things. Like in video games, magic is oftentimes portrayed as something that completely ignores armor. So will armor not protect you from fire? Will it not protect you from frost? These experiments would involve getting raw meat and crafting makeshift armor and just putting the armor, the makeshift armor, on the meat. Does fire do the same damage to the meat? Does it cook the meat as well if it's armored versus unarmored? Yeah, it's wacky. I'm a wacky kind of person. But long story short, yeah, things would cost a lot. And again, working as a dishwasher, not a lot of money. And around this time, my mom's health was kind of declining, and to pay the medical bills, I was having to dip into my savings. So I was kind of losing money during this time, which, you know, doesn't exactly help with the depression. And just when you think things can't get worse, my mom's health got worse. A lot worse. And she had to be put into a nursing home for the foreseeable future. For those curious, congestive heart failure. The doctors at the time believed that she could make a recovery and actually regain some strength and go back to, you know, like a normal life, but it would, you know, take time and effort, and yeah, she'd have to be in the nursing home and getting physical therapy and all of that stuff. And oh yeah, they want money. And Medicare or Medicaid, or maybe she was on both. I know that they didn't want to pay all of it. Because, I mean, they never do. They don't pay all of it. So, yeah, the financial issues were getting worse. I remember the day that we actually put her in the nursing home. I went home and, you know, here's my problem. I think a lot. A lot more than I probably should. And when I get stressed, I kind of... I get antsy. And obviously this entire situation was not good for the depression that I was suffering, as well as all of the thoughts I was having because of the depression that I was suffering. It's like I instinctively know that I need to occupy my brain so that I'm not thinking as much. So I kind of remembered Jesse Cox. I decided to go to the Jesse Cox channel, go to his playlists, and see just what games he's played in the past. Anything I would be interested in, anything at all. And I found Dead Space. Like, oh yeah, I remember this game being advertised. I remember reading about it in Game Power or some magazine that existed way back when. And thought to myself, oh, that looks like something I might want to play someday. And, well, I never did. So, okay, let's watch Jesse Cox play it. I wasn't expecting much because most of what I had watched video game-wise at that time was fairly non-commentary. Just someone playing the game or an AI playing the game super amazingly. So I wasn't expecting much. Well, I got the exact opposite of not much. Within like the first 5 minutes, I'm feeling like I'm watching Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I'm actually laughing out loud. And to drive this point home, I've been suffering depression for years. I didn't know it at the time, but I was. And I was not a very happy person. I was angry and frustrated, and not very happy with myself. Again, I'm repeating this point. And here I was watching a goofy Let's Play and laughing during a situation where I really did not feel like laughing. So with the free time that I had, I binged Dead Space, Dead Space 2, Dead Space 3, and enjoyed every minute of it. And I believe that it really did help me through a time where I really did not feel like laughing. And then it was like, okay, now what? And so as depressed as I was, I realized I needed to laugh to help pull myself out of it. And by the way, to anybody out there who's suffering depression, especially if your depression is intense enough that you're thinking of ending your life, you need to laugh. You need to find something to make you laugh. I know it sounds hard, but that is part of the key to actually pulling yourself out of it. So I realized I needed to continue laughing as much as I could. Since Jesse Cox could make me laugh, let's watch some more of his stuff. And I'm just scrolling through, and I discovered Skyrim. Oh yeah, a lot of people are talking about this game. It's like really amazing. Let's watch this guy play Skyrim. Yes, he was funny, and I laughed. And that's important. But also I had another one of those moments. I've had several of these moments in my life where I've gotten bored with video games, and I just kind of stepped away, and then I see someone else playing a video game, and it's like, whoa, that's what gaming is now? Why did I quit? That was one of the moments that I had. Not only is this guy making me laugh, now I want to play this game myself. And by this time, enough time had actually passed that my mom's health was actually improving. She was getting her strength back, and the doctors had said that she could come home. So things were actually looking up. So I decided, I'm going to go out and buy Skyrim, and I'm going to play it myself. And I will spare you what extents I had to go through to get a copy of Skyrim. I know people will be like, oh, just download it through Steam or Good Old Games or whatever. I didn't know those things existed. I was still in the mindset that you had to go to a store and buy a physical copy. And let's just say it was hard to find a physical copy. But I found a physical copy, and I started playing it, and as I was playing it, I realized I'm playing it as if I'm doing a Let's Play. It's not just because I had been watching Let's Plays, that's just how I play video games. I talk to the game. I've always done that. In fact, way back in the 90s, yeah, I'm old, get over it. Way back in the 90s, I remember like being in the house all by myself, watching episodes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and talking to it. Like I'm doing a Let's Play. I mean, sure, it was to an empty room, but hey, that's what I'm doing right now. Just now I can actually record it and subject other people to it. So it was at this point that I started getting the inclination that maybe I should be doing Let's Plays instead of sciencing myths. Now, the idea at this point was to do both, because there's an overlap, right? Sure, why not? But as I actually tried to do the experiments, I kind of realized they're mind-numbingly boring and not fun. So this is almost the end, but not quite. I mean, we have the secret origins of the Empirical Sword, and we have the reason for why Skyrim is so important to me. It was the beginning. And if it hadn't been for this goofy dude, Jesse Cox, I would never have discovered Skyrim, never have played it, and never have gotten the nudge to think, hey, maybe I should do Let's Plays. But what about the rest of the story? Because at this point in the story, I've not actually recorded anything. Well, I started doing research into how to record videos, how to deal with the copyright issues surrounding music, and, I wound up just sitting into this entire rabbit hole where I learned more about self-awareness and stoicism and philosophy and marketing, understanding people, and a lot of the psychological and philosophical stuff really started helping with the depression. And also, while all this was going on, my mom's health started declining again. She had to go back to the nursing home several times, and eventually they moved her to hospice. And then, April 2014, she passed away. And because she did not have a will, the courts required an executor. And, my sister, who's the oldest, declined. So that passed to me, and, well, the way they explained it to me was, oh, you just fill out paperwork and stuff, and then it's done. Oh, that's easy, right? Yeah, I spent about a year just trying to get all the information that the course required. And then finally it was done, and I could start actually focusing on building a YouTube channel, which partly meant spending money to upgrade my computer to the point where I could actually record videos and upload. And that took a little bit of time. And I know a lot of people would just give up. Well, I'm not most people. I'm an idiot. I don't know when to quit. But obviously, eventually I got there. And it all started with Skyrim. And now I'm playing Skyrim again. I just felt the need to tell this story. Because on the surface, Let's Plays, video games, on the surface, they're a waste of time. Just mindless entertainment, goofing around. But a lot of people are at a point in their lives where they really need a laugh. I mean, depression is a real thing. A lot of people have it, and I believe that a lot of people have it without even knowing that they have it. You know, that person that just snaps at people for no reason. They seem irritable and overly emotional, and would overall be described as a very angry person or a very insecure person. Maybe that person is just depressed. Maybe that person just is in a state where they don't like themselves. I've been there. I have been that person. So to anybody watching this who is in a situation of depression and maybe even considering ending your own life, first of all, don't. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It may be hard to see right now, but it is there, and you can get to it. You can pull yourself out of this pit. The first thing you need to do is find something that makes you laugh. Laughter is so important, especially, it's like, the less you laugh, the more important it is. The less you feel like laughing, the more important it is to find something to make you laugh. Anything. Just a little bit of laughter every day. And after that, you need to look inward and find out what it is you're missing. Because we all want different things. We all value different things. You have to look inward and find out what makes you feel valuable. Doesn't matter what it is. Drawing, painting, playing music, writing stories, writing poetry. Doesn't matter. As long as you feel valuable doing it, as long as you feel important doing it, then do it. I don't care if people make fun of you for doing it. That's their problem, not yours. Find something that makes you laugh. Find something that makes you feel important. Find something that makes you feel valuable and useful and needed. And dedicate part of every day to laugh and to do whatever it is that makes you feel valuable. Every single day. Climbing out of this pit that is depression, it's like exercising a muscle. It doesn't feel good, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. The stronger you get. And the thing about depression is, I don't think anybody ever really gets over it. I don't think it's one of those things where you fight it, you win, and hey, you're set for life. In my experience, it's something that you have to battle every single day. It's there when you wake up, and there are days that you will have to force yourself to get out of bed and face it. And some days will be easier than others. But the important thing is to keep living and to keep trying and to keep working at it and to keep getting stronger. Because if you give up, you can miss out on the most amazing adventure of your entire life. I mean, way back when, I would have missed out on all of this. The entire 4+ years that I've been producing content for YouTube, I would have missed out on that. And this is the most fun I've had in my entire life.